lesson 2. Good job surviving lesson 1. Lesson 2, we're going to talk about the number line. Who can give me a good definition of a number line?
A line with numbers on it.
Yes, that is a great definition. It doesn't have to be anything other than a line with numbers on
A
it.
line with slashes and numbers.
You don't even need slashes.
Yeah,
You
made it
just
more
draw a line.
Just make it
Dotted
more
line.
it has to be.
It's a line with
Dotted
numbers.
line with lines.
No, it doesn't have to be dotted either.
Does anyone know what the middle is? What that's called?
Zero.
Zero.
There's a word for it.
It's called the
Breaking
the middle.
The middle. So it's like the
Center.
no, it's close. It starts with an O.
October.
Yes, it is the October. This is called the origin.
Origin, yeah.
So it's kind of like where it all began, the origin. So this is where you start. You either go right into the positive numbers or left into the negative numbers. Okay? Origin means beginning, but it doesn't really look like the beginning because it's in the middle. But in the number world, in mathematics,
Go
the
backwards.
beginning is our 0 because there really isn't a beginning or there really isn't an end because numbers go on forever in both directions. So we call this the origin, the center of where all mathematical life began. Okay. So we've got positive numbers to the right, negative numbers to the left, 1, 2, 3, and so on. -1, -2, -3. And we also have all the numbers in between. But these numbers, all these whole numbers and their opposites, is another set of numbers. Do you guys know what this set of numbers is called?
Fractions.
So it goes on forever. It's not fractions because fractions are the ones in between all these numbers. Decimals are also the numbers in between all these numbers.
Negative.
So they're negative numbers, but not all negative numbers is this because like you could have -1.5, and that's not a part of this set. So they're all the whole numbers and their opposites. It starts with an I.
Integers.
Integers, that's right.
I'm pretty sure it's integers.
Ben, what?
I've heard a lot of people say integers.
Says that.
They're not integers. I think maybe other countries pronounce it integers. But they're integers. Okay? So far, so good? So basically, you got positive numbers on the right of the origin and negative numbers on the left. Okay? And you have to know how to arrange positive and negative numbers in order. Okay? So there's 2 parts of a number. There's the kind of a direction of a number and the value of the number. It's like a vector. What's a vector? A vector has.
From Despicable Me.
Yep. And what does he say? Because he has direction and
Orange.
not orange. Direction and magnitude.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And
So
spandex.
the magnitude is like how big a number is. So let's say you owe $54.
Why is that?
That's still a big number of what you owe. This is the bigness of a number. So the negative. Okay, so this is the bigness of the number. So yeah, you owe a lot. So you need to know how to write numbers in order. So basically, the bigger the bigness of the number in a negative number, the smaller it is, right? Think about the number line. -54 is less than -53.
No.
Yep.
Yep, right? Because -54 is on the left side of -53.
Yes.
Also, less means left. So -54 is left of -53. So -54, point to the left, -53. So these are called comparison symbols. You guys have seen those before. So if you think about a number line, that makes sense. -54 is on the left side. See how that points left of -53. Say goodbye to your alligator or crocodile that ate the bigger number. Because your alligator is going to be very confused by negative numbers. Okay? Say goodbye. Let him go.
Not Gary.
He's been a good friend, got you through some tough times, but it's time to let him go.
Not Gary. Absolutely not.
No, because negative 54 is less than, right? It's harder when the numbers get bigger, but you can see over here that, yeah, negative 3 is less than negative 2. But that feels weird to say that because 3 isn't less than 2, but negative 3 is less than negative 2.
Because there's 3 less than 0.
Yep, that's right. So they're left of. So think of it as direction, okay? So see how I'm going left 54 little hash marks, right? I'm going left 53. Well, I went more left on this, so that's got to be less than negative 53. Okay? So can you guys put these in order?
I can.
So this is going to be in your homework. You're going to be asked to do problems like this. Put these in order.
Oh, easy.
465, 654, negative 546, negative 319.
Done.
What's the smallest number on the board, Nathan?
Negative 546.
Okay, so this one goes first because that's the least number, the smallest number, which small sounds weird, doesn't it? Because 546 is not a small number. And negative 546 is technically not like a number. Well, not like a smallness or anything number. It's like negative.
Yeah.
All right, if you weighed negative 546, you would not be considered small. You'd be considered nothing, right? So, what comes after negative 546? Xavier?
546 is not the smallest. 654 is.
Well, if that was negative, it would be.
Oh,
But that's
sorry.
positive. Yeah, good point though. So what comes next, Austin?
Negative 319.
Okay, then what?
7.
And then you kind of go backwards,
7.
right? This was going backwards, but now this is the next biggest. 465 and then 654. Does that make sense?
Yo.
Okay.
What's it?
All right, next. And this is the last part of lesson 2, and then we'll be done for the day. Okay? We're going to talk about rounding.
Football.
Football.
Let's write in English.
Rain shadow leg ones. The leg ones. No, this thing's open.
All right, we're going to talk about
What if
rounding.
this wall collapsed? That wouldn't be good.
You just had a big smile.
So if I drew a number line, you know, the number line doesn't have to be just 1, 2, 3 or
I'm good at
whatever.
rounding.
A number line could look like this. It could have 0 here, 100 there, 200, 300.
Could
Okay.
have integers.
So a number line doesn't have to just be 1, 2, 3. It can be whatever numbers you want, just as long as it's consistent like that. Like the space between 0 and 100 is the same as the space between 100 and 200. So that kind of makes sense, right?
So what happens if you go from 100 to 1,000?
Well, then you'd probably have to condense it a little bit more, right? But you could go like 0 to 1,000, and then over here would be 2,000, things like that. But sometimes a number line, if you just kind of drafted a number line. So for example, if I say I want to round 209 to the nearest hundreds. 200. And where would you put that on the number line? If I were to graph it,
A dot right
where would
there.
I put it? Describe how would I put it?
You just put it.
A little to the right of 200.
Yes, so basically I'm asking what hundreds is it closest to?
200.
It's closest. So see how you could, whenever you're asked to round a number, you could draw a number line and graph it and see where it's close to. We don't need to do that, right?
We are not brains.
But it's easy to see
One moment.
visually that that's where it is. So it's 200. It's closest to 200. Okay? Well, what if it's exactly in the middle?
Then it goes
up.
up.
It would go
Because
up.
anything more than 5.
150 always rounds up.
Or 149. Wait.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Wait, yeah. It's
So 149 would go down to 100, but 150 would go up.
Wait,
Okay.
but like the 9 rounds to the 5.
Well, you're rounding to the nearest 100. You're not rounding, if you're rounding to the nearest 10 and then to the 100, if you did a 2-part rounding, then yeah, that would be weird. 149 would actually round to 200 if you rounded twice. But you're either rounding to the 10s or the 100s. If you rounded to the 10s, it would go up to 150. But if you rounded 149 to the nearest hundreds, it would go down to 400 or 100. But if you were rounding after you rounded to the 10s, that would be weird because then you'd have to go up to 200. Okay? But you're only going to round once and you're going to round to one place value. All right, so you can look at a number line and do it this way. There are some easier steps. And you can do these, like you can actually physically follow these steps. I'm going to have you circle numbers, put arrows on numbers, but you can do this in your head if you can handle it. So it's up to you, but if you're struggling with rounding, these are some good steps to start with, okay? So you don't have to use a number line, you can just follow these steps. But if you're a visual person and need to see it, a number line might be the safest thing to do. So if you're still not sure when it comes to a test, I would try to throw it on a number line and see what it's closest to. Step 1, circle the digit in the place where we're asked to round. So circle the digit in place where we're rounding. So let's try an example. I'm going to round 471,326,502 to the nearest 10,000. Okay? So first step is the green step. Circle the digit in the place where we're rounding. So which digit is in the 10,000 place? Ammo?
2.
This 2 right here. So here's what I'm going to circle. Okay? So far so good? All right. And some of you already know the answer, but we're going to go through these steps. Step 2. Put an arrow. Oh, wait. Yeah, I'm going to just put arrow on top of digit to the right. Okay, so I'm going to put an arrow above the 6. Okay, so now I have a circle digit and an arrow digit. So far, so good? Okay, now you have to ask the questions. Here's what the question is. If arrow number arrow digit is 5 or above, give it a shove. If arrow number is 5 or above, we're going to give it a shove. Well, what's it? We're going to add 1 to the circle digit. Silly me. So 6 is 5 or above. So we are going to add 1 to that 2 and make it a 3. Okay? If arrow number is 4 or below, keep it low. So don't change it at all. So leave circle digit the same.
So is this a 2-step round?
Dude, running low with low is such a low.
I know.
Why?
Okay? So if that was a 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0, then you would just leave that 2 a 2. Okay? But it's a 6. The arrow number is a 6. It's 5 or above. So we give that 2 a little shove up. Okay? So we add 1, make it a 3. And then the last step is change all digits to the right of circle
To 0.
to 0. Okay? So for example,
They don't matter.
this would be 471, 3, 3, and then everything to the right of that circle digit becomes a 0.
You said and.
So 471,330,000, and that's it. Okay? That's how you would write that number, or the final answer to that. Okay? Does that feel all right?
Yeah.
All right, let's try a couple more examples of rounding, and then we'll be done for the day. Okay, so I'm gonna round.
I like quick maths better than slow maths. Okay.
348 to the nearest 100. So you could probably do this in your head. When I'm rounding to the nearest 100, I want to know which 100 it's closer to. It's in between what two hundreds?
2 and 4.
Well, it is in between 200 and 400, but it's also in between 300 and 400. And which one is it closer to?
7.
348. So which one is it closer to?
300.
300, okay? But see how we're really doing the same thing with the whole circle and the arrow thing. We're rounding to the nearest 100, so we're going to circle the 3. And then we're putting an arrow. We're putting an arrow on top of the 4. So that 4 tells us it's not quite halfway yet. So it's still closer to the 300.
What do you mean yet? There's more.
Okay? So this becomes, if it's 4 or below, what do we do with that 3?
Keep it low.
Keep it low, so we're going to keep it the same. We're going to keep that 3 a 3. So the circle number doesn't change.
Change the O's.
So every time the circle number is either going to change adding 1 to that circle number, or it's going to stay the same. Okay, those are the only two options. So that still remains a 3. And then what happens to the other numbers?
0.
They're all zeros. Okay? All right, one more example. I'm going to round 348 to the nearest 10. The tens place value. Okay? Austin? 350. So this time, which digit am I circling?
4.
The 4. So I'm going to circle the 4, and then I'm going to look immediately to the right of the 4 and put an arrow there. And that at 8 tells me what to do with the 4.
Bump it up.
Bump it up to 5. So now it's a 3, 5, and then that everything to the right becomes a 0. Okay? So it's, you can ask yourself, okay, what two tens is it in between? 348 is in between 340 and 310, right? So which one is it closer to? Well, it's 348, so it's almost to 350. Okay, so you can round that way as well if you want to. So there's many different ways to do math. There's like just give me the steps so I can follow them type of thing. Or there's the logical, this is, well, they're in between, it's in between 340, 350. Which one is it closer to? 350. Okay, use the logical method.